Hey guys, this is Patrick Hall with Fstoppers.com, and today I'm joined with David Strauss, our studio manager. He also does a lot of photography as well. And today's critique is going to be
beauty.
Beauty photography. So
this episode was a little bit inspired by our new addition to our store from Julia Kuzmenko and Retouching Academy. I don't think she actually did it, but her beauty work is just incredible.
She's one of my favorite beauty photographers.
Yeah. So
we'll put a link to that tutorial and to her website below, so you can check out her work. And the next Critique the Community, we're going to have at least one special guest, if not two. We have Elia Liccardi, a landscape photographer, here in the studio. He's actually right around the corner editing the new Photographing the World 4, which should be out very soon. So it's fitting that, what should the next critique be?
Landscape photography. So for all of you who have been chomping at the bit to submit your next landscape photo, Elia is one of the best landscape photographers we know. So
you don't have to listen to us talk about landscapes. You can actually get critiques from somebody who does it day in and day out. If you want to submit your images to this critique, go to the link down below and you can upload all your pictures and be considered for the next critique, which will be out probably next week.
Probably, yep.
So moving on forward, let's start here. This is the top rated image of this critique, the top rated image from our community. And just so you guys know, the top rated image will win a free tutorial that is available in the fstoppers.com/store. Let's go ahead and get to the ratings.
I am ready.
All right.
4.
4.
I think we both agree. This is a super polished image. The black and white is interesting because I don't see many beauty black and white images, I feel like, these days, but I love the addition of the ring. I don't know if it's supposed to represent anything in particular, but it's got a nice visual interest, and overall the processing seems amazing.
Do you think they should have shown more hair in this photo?
I don't think it's the focal point. I feel like this is all about her eyes and face, so that doesn't bother me.
I don't know that it bothers me either. I'm just throwing out things.
I think it's just super nice and clean, but yeah, I don't know that I have any major things to point out for improvement. Like, it's just the makeup's done really well, her eyelashes are super polished, and focus goes straight to the eye. The composition is really nice too. You can tell, like, everything's very well balanced.
How do you think this image was lit? You can see in the eyes there. This is like a classic beauty dish.
Yeah, I think it just might be one light, one simple light.
Yeah, it just goes to show how much you can do. A lot of this beauty genre is lit with one single light. Maybe a few reflectors, but you can actually see a lot of shadows on this. Very cool. What do you think the community gave this thing?
Knowing them, 3.5.
3.5, 3.4. So almost right on the money. So we were a little more forgiving. We enjoyed this more than our community. So now you need to pick a number between 2 and 20. One of these random winners will receive another tutorial from the store.
Like a number 13.
Number 13, all right. All right, so let's move on to the next image.
I think I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
3, 2. I feel like this is in between there somehow. Why do you give it a 2?
I remember when I first started shooting models, and all of my friends around me were shooting models, and there was always this one pose that people do. I don't know where they got it from, but it's this whole, like, shoulders hunched forward weird thing. And it just makes her arms look so strange. Like, this may work if you were in a studio shooting black and white and you have a full body and you're going for some kind of, like, artistic, stance in your model. But when you cut off everything below the bust and you have these shoulders coming forward, I just think this looks incredibly strange to me.
That is interesting. See, like, my first thought was she's just leaning up on the side of a pool. But clearly she's not on the side of a pool. Like,
no, I think this is just a seamless.
You're right.
With this really strange, like, I also feel like her expression's a little strange. Like, I know in beauty photography we're probably going to see, just like the previous image, expression in this genre is always a little strange. Sometimes people look disgusted, or they look like they're breathing, or they don't give you the typical inviting lip movement that you might see in a lot of other genres. But in my opinion, like, the makeup, I feel like the makeup
just
a
little off.
Yeah, the lipstick just doesn't look very clean. I mean, you can see areas where either they missed the lipstick or the light is causing a reflection that they should have photoshopped out. The freckles look like they're all
fake. I think they're fake
and made up. I don't feel like for beauty, typically beauty, the retouching is going to be so good that the skin looks flawless. I don't know that this skin really looks flawless. I just am not a huge fan of this image. I think the composition, I think the expression. The only thing that's kind of working maybe is the lighting. Again, very simple lighting. But I just feel like it's just kind of a sterile image to me. I don't know that I would put this on my website if I was trying to attract high-end beauty images.
I think
clients.
With just a little extra polishing on the retouching, this is definitely website worthy for lower-end beauty work. I feel like we're going to see a lot of super polished images that are going to be 4s and 5s, and that's what you're going to see on the back of the store products and stuff. But
if the previous image is the highest rated image, it may all be downhill from here.
We'll see.
Let's see what the community says. They give it a 2.5. So they were closer to you than me, but they kind of split the difference.
Right in between there. Well, that's weird. That's a weird catch light, too.
It's like a square softbox.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
2. The weird upward pose is eye-catching, but I don't know if it's particularly flattering to me.
This is like the Superwoman pose where she's mid-flight.
Yeah, or something.
You're looking at her, or the skydive
still
pose.
got her mascara perfect. Like.
Yeah. I feel like, obviously the exposure's all over the place. Her forehead is very overexposed. Also, the light is so low that it's interesting because the light is low. You can tell that by the catch light. But because of the position of the camera, it's just a very disorienting perspective that we don't see a lot. But typically, you wouldn't light somebody from the bottom like this.
Another thing that bothers me is the skin tonality seems a little too yellow. I don't know if that's a processing effect you're going for.
It's kind of got that grungy, greenish yellow look to it.
Yeah, I feel like that's not her natural skin color.
I call that the Canon RAW look.
Yeah, okay.
But it'd be interesting to know if this was shot on a Canon. Yeah, I don't really know what to even say to critique this. Like, you're cutting off her jaw. You're on a weird perspective, shooting down, I assume. The lighting's just bad. The exposure's bad. Like, I'm just not really...
Yeah.
I think they're trying to do something outside the box. Also, if you're going to talk about beauty, look at the eyelashes. They're just very unkept, and it's just kind of a mess in there. I don't think that this would fly and get you commercial work. Or even like local work. I know commercials at the highest level, but even if you wanted to shoot commercially for somebody in your local market, I don't think this is going to attract many people.
Cool. Next.
Community says 2.8, so they rated this a little less harsh than we did.
Now next up. I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
2, definitely. I would say this is probably a slightly lower 2 than the last one. Just overexposed.
I have to believe like everything in this genre is going to be lit. I would think with some sort of flash, obviously.
Probably.
Maybe it won't be, but because of that, a lot of these I think are going to fall in the 2 category. They're not going to be true snapshots. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. Maybe we'll see some stuff that's natural light. But yeah, the exposure, this is like at least a stop, if not more, overexposed. I don't feel like, it's hard to tell, but the makeup and the lipstick just doesn't look like anything's really going on there.
I'm trying to see what this red is next to her hair. I don't know if that's just shadow, reflection, or whatever. But yeah, I think
the post-processing is just kind of poor here. It's very grainy.
I don't mind the model's overall expression. I think her hair could be cleaned up, like if we're truly talking about a lot more. But yeah, definitely a solid 2.
And I'm wondering too if like, it's hard to tell, but I'm just wondering if the light is just so far away that it just gives this really flat look. Like this isn't really, I don't know, there's such overexposure here that I'm having a hard time really evaluating this beyond that. So I don't know if I could say the light should be closer, or and it looks kind of flat.
Yeah.
Your shadows are open. If that light was really close, you get the shadows on the cheek and everything to go really dark, which is a very cool look that a lot of people do with beauty photography.
Yeah. Nice fall off. Community gives it a
1.91.
9.1. All right,
Not a fan of that one. So here we've gone into a little more experimental direction compared to everything else.
Ooh.
This one's tough. I'm having a hard time kind of placing this.
All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1. You went
Really?
3?
You went 2. I was debating between a 3 and a 4.
Really? You think
For
this
this.
is a 4 would be a solid,
Very solid.
great
Yeah.
image.
I think this is a really good
Belongs
shot.
in your portfolio.
Definitely belongs in your portfolio to me.
I
Why-
believe this is a very high 2. I was on the border of a 2 and a 3.
Why wouldn't this be in your portfolio?
I just feel like maybe I'm a little biased here. I'm not I don't get this whole crazy, like this might belong in like a makeup artist's
Yeah, I mean, this is
portfolio or
beauty.
something.
Like, you're going to get, like, the weird lip drips and the crazy eyeshadows.
I honestly
and-
do not understand that either. I know we praised Julia Kuzmenko for doing that, and there's a lot of images you can see of her. I don't understand the whole lip with the frosting.
Yeah.
And
I think you're just selling a product. If you're going to be dealing with these, like, crazy shades of makeup, then you're going to get these weird takes on modeling or shaping the model.
Yeah, I just feel like I would like to see more color in the eyes. I would like to see her a little more animated, maybe facing the camera a little bit more. Something about it just doesn't really resonate as well with me.
I think it's super clean.
I also
The
don't
specular
really-
highlight
you
on
like
her
the
cheek.
highlight on the
Yeah,
cheek?
I was just gonna say that's a little strong. I feel like the skin has lost a little too much texture, potentially.
What do you think about the earrings being in this? Traditionally, a lot of beauty images
That's true.
probably wouldn't have a lot of accessories and jewelry.
Yeah, that's true. I don't mind them. I'm trying to picture them without. Like, I feel like in this case they might add to the photo, but
Do you feel like the skin could be a little over-retouched?
yes, I definitely feel it's over polished. It's lost too much texture.
There's just something about the lips and the eyes being so dark that for a beauty shot, I just feel like
I can see that.
these typically fall in a more high-key realm. I'm not saying every image has to be high-key, but
yeah, it's not flattering the product. The light, especially on the lips, isn't focused on the product itself.
I think I would have brought the light from kind of camera right to camera left and kind of hit at a different angle, but it would have completely changed the mood. All the shadows under the neck that are really nice would obviously not fall in that direction. See, the community says 3.2, so I am totally wrong.
Talking about experimental.
Now, all right, 3, 2, 1.
2, you're selling the yellow eye shade, but the bees I think are just excessive. I don't know. It's just a little too bright.
Yeah, obviously the exposure's off. I feel like the crop is weird, cutting off somebody at the jaw.
Yeah.
I mean, we always talk about like cutting arms and legs
Yeah.
and stuff off. In this case, we're having to critique like cropping on the face, which is really strange to do
It's
that.
a very hard light too. Like, you can see that shadow of her nose.
Yeah, I
pretty
don't know
defined.
if I dislike hard light. I think you can do a lot of cool things with hard light. I just think the exposure's off. I'm not a big fan of like the composition. I feel like all this space on the bottom with her hands and those tonalities of her skin, it just doesn't look as strong as it could possibly be. And then I don't know what it is about the bees. Like, I see what they're trying to go with there, but I know a lot of photographers, they have like the butterflies and stuff on them.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's a little strange. I don't know how butterflies on eyes and lips became a thing of beauty, but when it's these little pins, it just registers a little more cheap
Yeah, I agree.
because they look like these like metal pins that are just lying around a studio.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's
gives
see
it?
what they say. 3.1.
All right, they liked it both more than us.
Beauty is a weird genre.
It
of
is.
photography.
If only we'd had.
It's
Julia
kind of like true,
here.
like runway fashion. When
Yeah.
you see stuff on the runway and you're like, why is that a thing? But I guess it's to showcase what is possible and to make people disgusted or to make people extremely excited. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's-
All
you would
right.
never wear any of the stuff on the runway, and you would never wear the
Not makeup like that, at least, but you might wear their
You ready?
shades.
3, 2,
I'm
1.
gonna go nice 3.
I'm on a 2 to 3 as
Yeah.
well. Like I
I
feel
figured you were going to, but now I find it interesting that you rated this
higher
3.
than the image
Yeah.
2 ago, like 2
Yeah.
images ago. I don't know. I don't know that I really like this that much either. I feel like beauty is usually super simple, and so I'm kind of distracted by all the piercings and all the jewelry in her ear. I like the hair. I feel like there's also a little too much of the right shoulder in the bottom left. Like I almost would prefer this cropped a little tighter in some way. I don't know that I love the expression,
Yeah, I
but
was
it kind
just
of
gonna
goes
say.
back to like beauty expressions or
This one
They're,
though
like, a
is
little
like
different.
a little too vacant though. It's too deer in the headlights. Like I do love the hair and I think I like that only one eye is like very present. It's a drawing feature, but it's she just looks vacant.
There's also some like spotchiness. Like there's a way to do skin retouching to where it doesn't look retouched, but it's clean with a lot of texture. And I know
Yeah.
some of the images we've already looked at, we couldn't even get to the skin retouching because
Yeah.
the pictures have been so blown out. But this one, around her jawline, where it's just her bare skin, and up by her hair, I just feel like there's a lot of weird tones,
Yep.
tonalities, and maybe like, I don't know if that's acne or anything, but it's just imperfections in the skin that somebody at the highest level of beauty photography would retouch and smooth that out. I feel like some of these transitions are strange. Up here, the hairline right by her, if you kind of went in by her eyebrow, like there's some weird colors
It's like
there.
yellow or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just feel like,
More Canon.
yeah, it's that Canon. This doesn't have the Canon look. The Canon grunge, I call it. So we both went with 3s here?
Yeah. I probably would revise to 2.5.
2.7.
2.7. All right.
3, 2, 1.
2.
I don't know for me personally why this even falls into what I would call
Consider
a
beauty?
Like this almost just looks like a hard lit like portrait.
Yeah.
It's probably a beauty dish. It's got a little softness to it, but it just looks like a portrait. I don't feel like there's any interesting makeup going on. I feel like the eyelashes are crazy looking.
Yeah, those are definitely like add-on, clip-on, whatever.
The lighting isn't that interesting to me, no matter how I'm trying to zoom in here. If I get rid of a lot of the lower part of the image, which I feel like doesn't really add anything, I never really see anything that makes this like jump out as something that would be used
I agree.
for beauty.
And we were talking about the crazy tonality of the skin in the last few images. I feel like either here they've just so overdone the foundation on her face of the makeup that it's like so even toned that it doesn't look natural, or maybe that's done in post, I don't know. But it's all, there isn't any subtle shift in tonality along her face.
Yeah, not like when I look at the lips, I just feel like there's a
They're
lot of
super splotchy, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like no attention to detail was given to the retouching of the mouth. And I know you're going to hear us talk about retouching a lot, but that is such a huge
Yeah.
part of this genre. To say, like, you got to get it right in camera with, I mean, makeup. The irony of all of this is so many people in the media and so many people in the general public get so upset about retouching. But honestly, I feel like makeup in any kind of photo
It's
shoot,
the natural retouching.
yeah, like makeup probably covers up 80% of the imperfections on someone's skin, and everyone just accepts makeup as being like okay. And maybe it's because you could actually wear makeup out in public and you could do that effect in real life. But then the retouching usually just takes it that extra 20%.
Yeah.
But because maybe you can't do that, you can't wear retouching, it has a bad rap. But in this case, like the lips just, it looks like the makeup really hasn't been applied correctly, and then the retouching hasn't fixed those errors.
It seems like they dragged the reds and like oversaturated like one chunk of reds.
Yeah, and there's also like another highlight on the lower side of her lips, almost as if like there's something.
I think it's gloss, maybe.
I mean, it might just be her headdress here that's like reflecting back into her lips, but it's just one of those things that I feel like in beauty you would either really expose that and make it like a huge part of the image, like a two-tone sort of lighting setup, or if you saw those reflections in the gloss, you would remove them to make it a little cleaner. But
yeah. Either way, community gives it a
2.5.
2.5. There's your natural light.
No, we got natural light in here. All right, 3, 2, 1.
2. We agree. It's natural light, but I don't think it's particularly flattering. It's got, if you're gonna light with direct sunlight, I feel like you need to hit maybe the whole face and not just have it speckled with shadow.
I see what the photographer was trying to do here. The reason this isn't a 1 is because they're clearly using a telephoto lens and blurring the background, and they're trying to work in some foreground elements, and there's something going on in the photographer's mind. Yeah. And if you've ever seen the work that Clay Cook does, we did a tutorial with him, and he uses splotchy light like this, and it actually looks really cool. I think there's some really neat stuff you can do, especially if you're in the studio and you're shooting through, they would call them like cookies or things in front of your lens or your light to cast shadows. I don't want to discourage people from doing that, but in this case, there's just such a huge difference between shadows and highlights, and
there's no gradation between
it. Just looks like a mistake. It doesn't look like you're trying to exploit, this speckled light. You have these weird highlights right by her nose. I feel like the flowers are very distracting. I feel like if, her eyes and her mouth are just giving this weird deer in the headlights expression. It doesn't feel like they're confident. I'd have a hard time even placing this in the beauty realm. It's kind of like just a portrait outside. But I think the lighting, and I think like I've said a lot through this critique, is that I think a lot of times less is more in this genre. And so trying to get the flowers and everything in there, this just is a little too busy.
I mean, I appreciate that they're trying to do tonality matching and color matching with the lipstick.
Right. I think there's a lot of thought that went in this, but I think you would be better off putting her totally in the shade and using soft light and getting rid of the flowers and just making this a little more simple, because your eye just wanders everywhere in this photo. And then you also have these weird things in the bottom right where it's like some of these leaves are in focus. I don't know.
All right, community gives it 2.09.
Oh, okay. Do you think they had a leaf blower to do the hair? We did a shoot once where Lee and I competed in the studio. I think, what is it called? Like cheap versus...
cheap gear versus expensive gear or
something like that. We'll put that link in the description too. And anyway, Lee does a shoot where David, I believe, and I use like an air blower.
On the model.
A leaf blower to do this, but...
They were clearly just using flash though. No ambient like in that video.
All right, I think I'm ready.
3.
I went 2.
Man, harsh.
I just think it's the same thing I told Lee. Like, I think with images like this, the hair is just so unruly. I know what you're trying to do, and there's probably a way to pull off this crazy hairstyle where, I don't know if it's just not have like a high key background to where the hair can kind of fall into a darker tone. But I just feel like with beauty photography, it's all about hair and makeup. And I feel like no attention was put into this hair.
I don't know, it's
like
hard.
You could make the hair look so well groomed and washed and shampooed and I mean, even if you have to retouch it, a lot of the hair that
Yeah.
I mean, there's tutorials out there just on hair photography, and hair retouching. I just feel like this completely misses the boat with the hair, and I can't even get past anything else.
Like, I see what the photographer's trying to do with like the hair going everywhere. I kind of like it. It is crazy, but like I like the juxtaposition of the crazy hair and then the makeup on the face is very detailed. It's hard for me to say though that this doesn't belong in your portfolio. I think this shows capability to do some cool stuff. I think
It does. I feel like if the hair just looks super combed and clean, and it could still be blowing, but see this one little lock here that like looks perfect. If all of the hair looked like that instead of this like rat's nest of craziness. I mean, all of the hair close to her hairline just looks so incredibly sloppy, and I don't know if that's because the wind or whatever they were using to get this effect was blowing kind of up, instead of like down, but the hair on the right, all of this wispiness to the right of the frame, her left shoulder, I think that looks really cool. But then when I go down to the bottom corner, it's just a little too thin. For this, I think big locks of thick hair look really nice. And I kind of like what her lips are doing.
Yeah,
She's got a very interesting look.
I feel like the makeup, the look, the expression, the lighting on her face alone is great. It has a nice dewy feel. It's got it's well processed. It's good tonality. The hair is distracting though.
Yeah, the hair is what's killing me here. I feel like the makeup, some of the blush and some of the eye shadow might be a little much. I see what they're doing, but and then the shoulder in the front. Maybe it's exaggerated just a little much. It kind of makes her look a little skinny, a little anorexic.
Yeah.
A little too much, maybe.
What, you think pull it back a little bit?
I would pull the shoulder down a little bit more
down?
and kind of open it up. But there's a lot of cool things going on with this photo. When I first saw it, I got excited, and then I just feel like I lose everything with the hair. And hair's tough. Hair is really tough. It's a nightmare to retouch. But this might be one of those things where if you could get it a little bit cleaner in camera when you shoot it and then send it off to a retoucher, go ahead and pay the money to have it done really well, I think you could come out with something that looks really nice.
Community gives it
3.2. So what do I know? Did you pick these images, David?
I did.
You did. So
I go for variety.
You did go for variety. All right. 3, 2, 1. We have our first snapshot
One
of.
star for sure.
There's so much to.
Is this a selfie or is this someone else?
I don't know. Everything's wrong with this.
The back eye is in focus. Do you want that? You want that, right?
Is this in here just to like?
No, I think it's
make everyone on YouTube.
It's
the
just
camera's tilted. This isn't. The other thing we haven't talked about.
What is beauty?
Well, no, not what is. What are you going like? Philosophical on this?
No,
here?
I mean like what is?
This is not.
beauty shot?
We haven't really talked about the type of model. I mean, some of these images, there's been so much wrong with the lighting and the retouching and the theme and the posing that we really haven't gotten to just the type of model that you would cast for a beauty shoot. And it's one of those realms of like, if you shoot weddings and you want to put wedding pictures on your portfolio, you're going to want to put really attractive people, no matter what you do. I mean, you look at anything, even if you go to the bank and you see like people taking out loans, it's all walks of life, but it's always attractive people that have attractive kids and the attractive wife and the attractive dog. Like everything in there is like well thought out. And I just think like maybe we'll talk about this more as we see some other images, but I don't think this is the type of person you'd cast for a beauty shoot. Nothing's really been done with the hair. Nothing's been done with the makeup. No retouching. The lighting is on-camera flash that's awful. It's sideways. Like, I mean...
It's a point and shoot. I mean, it's a
snapshot. You just wanted to put a snapshot in here. Anything else you want?
Community agrees.
Okay.
1.07.
As opposed to something like this.
Exactly. I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. You're going
Man.
3. I'm going 2. I'm going harsh on this.
You are going so harsh. I think this is a solid 3, but definitely not a 4. Like, I think this is good for your portfolio. I think they're the highlights on her nose and some on her forehead, maybe a little on the lips too, and those need to be toned down a little bit. They're just a little too harsh. And then I would tone down that background light a little bit. I feel like my eye is drawn to her neckline, shoulder, where my focus should be kept on her face and the makeup and that hairpiece, but I think all you need is to edge her out back there. It's a little bright on the flowers too, maybe the light, but I think overall it's a pretty solid shot and kind of interesting pose. Yeah.
The first thing that I see is it just looks so retouched. To me, her skin just looks plasticky. Like, I don't know how they get this look. I don't know if this is just you've taken, frequency separation just over the top. I don't know what's going on here, but it just appears so fake and plasticky. But then there's things, like you said, the forehead and the nose, I just feel like they're too bright. So I don't know why they went overly, and maybe what it is they've over sharpened the high frequency level or layer. It just has, like, every pore just has this sharpness. It's almost like they're trying to make up for the smoothing out that they did.
Yeah.
That they sharpened the skin layer, but it just looks a little too much to me. I feel like the composition's a little strange. It's like she's dead in the center. I don't know, maybe if you made it less about the flowers in some way, it could be kind of cool. I feel like my eye just goes to these flowers. It's like all about the flowers. And then again, maybe this is a difference of opinion, but like just the makeup and everything is so over the top. I guess what I'm trying to compare these to are beauty shots that I would see on products in the grocery store.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or if I picked up a magazine, a woman's magazine, and you're flipping through it, you're going to see, Penelope Cruz, and it's going to be so soft and so subtle and so clean.
Most of those shots are 4s, I imagine. Like, the magazine work is generally, like,
but that's what the
incredible.
standard should be.
But you're giving these 2s. They don't even belong in a portfolio.
I guess, too, I also wonder what type of person is hiring you to shoot this stuff. It's one of those weird genres where, like, is this being shot like a makeup artist?
The makeup artists. It's the salon people. It's the people who make headdresses. It's the nail polish, whatever.
I love the subtlety. I love the dewiness, the airy, the bright, the simple. I want to look at a picture and be like, I want to be that guy or girl. And a lot of this stuff, and I know it's part of this genre, but I don't really understand why. It's this over-the-top stuff where, like, if you were looking to hire a makeup artist for your wedding, is this the image that's going to make you say, I want that makeup artist? I don't think it is.
I think it's less about the makeup artist and more about, like, I want that kind of makeup. That color pops on her. That, like, is exactly what I want to wear.
I just want to see all of these images a lot more subtle, and I just want to see some, like, classic beauty where you're like, that looks great. And I feel like the companies that sell cosmetics are the best companies at persuading women to buy their products, and what do? They don't do stuff like this.
Yeah.
They do stuff that's much more subtle and things that make you say, I want that foundation, or I want that whatever it is, But this stuff's just so over the top that I feel like it's going more in the realm of art. This is like what a photographer and a makeup artist and a model are capable of creating, and that does fall in the beauty genre. But I don't know that if you have a whole portfolio of this stuff, who are your clients? Please, people who do this for a living, tell me in the comments, is this type of work what's getting you the most amount of work? Or if something that you would find in the front of Elle magazine that's an ad for L'Oreal, is that the type of stuff that would get you the most amount of work? I don't know. But yeah, I'm rating a lot of these.
Let's see what the community says.
A 3.2.
All right, this is number 13. Congrats, you are the winner of the randomly selected tutorial. I'll get in touch with you via your Fstoppers profile.
Yeah, so you can go to fstoppers.com/store, check out any of the tutorials that we've produced that you can win by submitting your own work, and congratulations.
All right, here I agree with you. It's a 2. I feel like the pose is a little strange. I think the model choice and makeup, I don't know. Something's not working here. It's just a little too aggressive, a little too harsh. It doesn't quite fit that like nice symmetrical face look that you go for in beauty.
I think this pose has potential. I see a lot of images like this where the shoulder comes across the front like that. I feel like you'd probably want to tilt her head a little bit more and really finesse like the shape of, you know, her back with, you know, kind of put an arch in there and soften it up a little bit. I feel like, again, the jewelry in some of this is, I'm not a big fan of putting a bunch of jewelry in the beauty shots. The hair that's coming in on the left side, I feel like looks like it should be a nice lock of hair or no hair at all.
Yeah.
I feel like the light's a little low. You can see the light is kind of creeping in under her eyelid there, and I feel like because of that, it's not allowing the neck to have these nice shadows. And maybe the light's a little too far away, and that's giving you, when you pull the light further away, it gets harsher, but the shadows open up. And I think that's something a lot of people still have a hard time understanding. If you bring the light in closer, it will become softer, but your shadows will actually go darker. And when you do that, you're able to create a lot of tonality on the face. You're able to make nice soft highlights on the front part of the face while throwing other parts of the face into deep shadow. So it's kind of this inverse relation, if you know the inverse square law. Bring the light in, it gets closer, but you also get a lot of fall off, which would put a lot of her face into shadow, which is used a lot in beauty photography. I think your model, I don't think this is really the person I would cast for beauty. I also feel like the background, like...
Well, the background, I was just noticing, I don't know if it's makeup or the background that's casting light back, but like, I feel like there's extra orange spilling in.
So she's
Maybe
probably
makeup.
just very close to the background.
Yeah.
And it's lit unevenly. It's got blown air. It's not really blown, but it's not a nice solid color, or it doesn't have a nice gradient.
And that, I think, is also a beef I have with this image, is that I see what they were going for potentially with the eyeshadow matching the background to some extent, but it doesn't. Like, the background is so uneven in color, and the eyeshadow is so, I don't know, it's definitely more yellow than orange, that I feel like those two colors conflict more than complement each other.
Yeah, and you know, overall it's still kind of overexposed, and the light's so flat that it comes across more as like a snapshot than somebody who's really spent a lot of time finessing the light. There's also, and you can see it in both eyes, but there's another major highlight there that I don't know. I don't see a highlight on her.
Some fill.
Yeah, it almost appears to me that.
Is it a window?
It almost appears to me that they just kind of like didn't get the exposure right and then added a light to something that had some ambient. Maybe it's a light that's hitting the background, but
I don't know. Anyway, community gives it a
1.8.
8.8. It's a little harsher than even us. All right.
3, 2, 1. Another 2 for me.
Another 3. Same critiques as the last few images of 2s. Just doesn't work. 2 process.
I feel like there's still some unevenness in the retouching on her face. And I say retouching because I think this is actually lit in a kind of interesting way. I just think, you know, with people's skin and depending on the makeup and where the specular highlights are going to fall, sometimes you just can't avoid that. I think a lot of people would be very shocked to see what an image straight out of camera in the beauty world looks like versus one that's retouched. And so to me, when I say there's a lot of unevenness in the skin, I think that should be fixed in post. But when I look at this, I kind of like the lighting. I kind of like the tone. I don't know that I'm a big fan of, you know, this weed.
Grass.
This thing in the picture. I feel like maybe I'm the dentist here, but like I'm drawn to her uneven teeth.
Okay.
I feel like she's making a weird expression. She's got the furrowing of the eyebrows where it's like, I feel like this girl's gorgeous, and they've played the simplicity route. Like there's no crazy makeup here. I feel like there's kind of an opportunity missed here. She's got cool hair. She's got great skin tone. She looks like a beautiful girl. And instead you picked this like weird outtake is what I feel like it is. Instead of really honing in what could be like the purple background is like cool. Like there's so many things I feel like could easily make this a 3, maybe even a 4.
I think it's already easily a 3 and could go to the 4 with cleanup. I love the like spunky expression, the like surprised look. I feel like it draws in the viewer. I feel like her skin tone is incredible. The makeup is really well done. It's super subtle. I don't love the distracting earrings. Again, on the side, it does give her a vibe, but there's too many studs there, I think. And maybe this grass plant heather thing that's coming in is a little too much. It covers too much of her face. But I like that there's some extra like weird visual element there. If you took that out, like it would just be a surprised girl. Like I feel like it does complement the shades of the background and gives it some unique visual appeal that takes it more. It's more than just like a simple weird expression portrait. So
I also wonder, like, I can't decide if I like kind of this Rembrandt lighting or if I would have the key light come around just a little bit more. It's hard to say because she's in such a strange facial expression that adds a lot of unique shadows in places that they wouldn't be. But I feel like there's so much going here that like I could see this being a really pretty shot that you would use. I just can't get past like the expression and this weird thing being in the frame. To me, it's
what does the community say?
2.9.
2.9.
I agree with you more than me.
Still not a solid 3 like I thought.
What are we doing here?
Well, I wanted to give male representation at least one showing, and this was one of the few. But I don't know that this is really beauty.
This is, I mean, something.
I'll agree with you that this is a 2. I will. You've said this throughout the whole critique. I don't know where this belongs in a beauty portfolio. I think it's well lit. It's kind of interesting styling and pose, but like, I don't really love the cropping or his tattoo. Like, I don't feel like, I feel like adding his chest doesn't really benefit the photo, and that the tattoo coming in kind of almost looks phallic. I don't know.
You said it, not me. I was thinking it, but you said it. I actually, like, if I crop in and get rid of like this jacket and whatever's going on down there, he actually has great skin and really interesting complexion. Like I think he's an interesting character.
If you go up a little bit.
If you go up, and even if you just crop the bottom of the phallic or the tattoo, if you just crop in a little tighter, like I actually love the tattoo. Yeah. I almost wish there was like more on the other arm or something. I don't know. I think he's got a really dewy look. I mean, this potentially could fall in some kind of beauty portfolio.
Now that you've cropped it, yes.
I kind of like what's going on here. I mean, the fact that you shot this guy with really pale skin and the red hair and all of the freckles against this purple background, this pinkish background. I like it. I think it's really cool. It's refreshing. I don't know if it belongs in a beauty portfolio, but maybe it could belong in like a salon. Like maybe that's kind of the same genre. Like if you were trying to appeal to men in trendy haircuts and skincare and that sort of thing, like I think
I really do like the lighting. It almost seems, is this upwards lighting on the sides? Like on his right side?
I think the light is just kind of probably ear level behind him, and it's skimming across everything. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, you can see there's a nice highlight on the side of his glasses.
Yeah, I see.
There's a
Okay.
highlight
Yeah, you're
on
right.
the rim, on the side of his glasses as well. And it's kind of coming past his ear.
I do like the lighting on his face a lot. I like how on his right side it accentuates his jaw very well, and then on the left it just fills in and catches that eye really well. I feel like the positioning of lights is very well done. But
Yeah,
again, crop it in.
And I almost I don't want people to think I just want to crop the chest out. But if you I just feel like the shirt or whatever that black is very distracting, and it's on both sides. I mean, it's lit well. It's beautiful lighting, and it's a cool vibe. Like this might be one of my favorite images in this thing. I still just don't know what to make of it in a beauty portfolio. Typically because men aren't marketed towards as much for.
Yeah. Community gives it 2.71. All right. What?
I just wanted to screw with you. I wanted to screw with you.
Oh, goodness. I was about to tear into.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this is definitely a 2 to me. I feel like the lighting's not excellent. Like you've been saying, the shadows are not very accentuated.
I kind of like the lighting. I don't think the lighting's horrible here. If I look at the product, I mean, it looks...
I mean, that product and the lips look okay. I don't like the rest of her face. Like, there's so many baby hairs all over the face. That draws my eye a lot. Those should be retouched out. I don't know how I feel about the whole hair dangling thing.
Yeah, I don't like
that. It's a little distracting.
It's very T-Boz from TLC. I don't know if that's before your era.
Yeah.
But and then the single strand over here. It's a weird crop. I feel like maybe it's a weird pose. Like, I wish I could recall more lipstick ads, but I feel like very rarely do you see something cropped and laid out like this. You know, maybe you do want like less of the left side.
Yeah, I don't know what works.
And another thing, like, I just feel like the makeup here looks like it's done fairly poorly. Like, this might be good makeup if she was just going out. Yep. It might be actually heavy makeup if she was going out. But when I see really high-end ads, the makeup is so dewy, and it doesn't call its attention to all of the hairs. There also looks like a lot of weird retouching in the middle of this strand of hair.
Wondering what that
so like if you look at her cheek, there's this like halo effect where it looks like a lot of work has been done over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that this is quite the camera angle and the composition. That's where I would probably start first. And then also like there's a weird highlight in her lip that kind of makes her look like she's got a pimple or something. And I don't think she does. It's just you could retouch that to make the lips look a little smoother. But
community gives it a
2.8.
2.8. Oh, they liked it more than us. All right, next.
All right.
2.
Man, this is
Agreed.
another one that kills me.
It's close.
Because this girl's beautiful. Like, there's so much potential here.
Yeah.
And I love kind of the toning.
See,
this like purple look. I think it works really well with dark skin.
I think that's my biggest beef of this image.
Really?
Yeah.
I love all the highlights on the shoulder. I think in retouching you could even things out. I think that's my 2 biggest critiques are I think the camera should come down in height. I think it's just too high. And I think that there's a lot of unevenness in the skin. Like, I think you could just retouch a lot of that out. Some of the areas that are retouched might be over-retouched.
Yeah, her face.
So I just feel like, if you took this raw file and gave it to a professional retoucher, I think they could bump this up to probably a high 2. I just don't know that this is ever going to be like a 3, but...
I agree with you somewhat on the tonality. I think, like much of the other retouching, it's overdone. I feel like it's too silver, too... I don't know. It's a little too much. One other thing
that can be really
me,
popular, though, in this genre. Like, people are doing these really cool, like, split toning effects that look really interesting.
Another thing that bothers me is how quickly the right side of her face, and I guess shoulders too, just falls off into the black, and you can't really tell where her hair ends and where the background begins.
Yeah.
And it's just, you lose so much there. I do like that zoomed in.
So I'm just looking at the lighting and trying to figure out what they did here. And it looks like they're using a fairly big softbox, maybe an octabox camera, right? And then they have like the tri-reflector underneath. But I don't really see that it doesn't seem to be opening the shadows as much as you would think.
Yeah.
It's still pretty dark under her chin. And like you said, that hairline, shadow line, and then the hairline on the background. I know those are two different effects, but like those shadows are all very dense. And I think because the light's not wrapped around enough from the front, like her right eye, our left eye in the picture, is very dark and just kind of falls into shadow. And then it looks like there's also some sort of fill light. And I don't know if the fill light is coming from above, but there's like a little highlight. You can almost...
It's hard to...
It looks like there's another softbox camera left pointing down.
Yeah.
But I just think if you lowered this camera and got it to where you're not looking, like I don't like looking down on people. And then the retouching and just getting things a little more even. But I feel like, there's a lot of potential here. And part of me wants just a little more expression out of her too. It just seems like she's kind of over this photo shoot.
Yeah.
She's kind of done. But
community
2.6.
Man. All right.
No. Here's kind of what I've been wanting to see.
The whole time?
I mean, to me, this looks like traditional beauty photography. This is what's going to sell so many different products, whether it be skincare or hair care or like this. I feel like this is what a lot of women want to feel like when they come out of the shower and they're happy with their skin and their body and like.
All right, let's rate it. I'm going to go 4 on this one.
I could potentially go 4 as well.
This, I feel like, is very close, if not equivalent, to the very first image in my mind. Don't know if it's the model or her pose, but her neck looks so long.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a positive thing. Maybe it's almost feels a touch too long, unnaturally so.
Yeah.
But everything about this is so clean. The highlights to shadows are never harsh. They're a smooth gradation. The tonality of the skin is all even, but not so much that, you can see there's blush in her cheeks and there's blood in her veins and stuff. Hair looks incredible.
Blood in her veins.
I mean,
she's alive.
She's alive. Sometimes you just even that out and it looks horrible.
I think the thing that I keep being distracted the most in this photograph is her neck. I don't know how to fix that. I don't know if it's a weird camera angle. Maybe she just has a really long neck. That is the one thing that keeps pulling me away from giving this an even higher rating. I think I'm going to go back to everything we've talked about in this critique. I think you cast a great model, like the ethnicity, like the ambiguous
ethnic ambiguity.
Say that phrase 10 times.
Ethnic ambiguity.
I think it plays perfect. Like you can't quite place her, and I think people like that. You're not, I think her hair is super kept and like tight, and there's none of the hair problems that we've seen in other images. I think the makeup is great. Like I said earlier in this critique, if you were a bride and you wanted to hire a makeup artist, you would look at this picture and be like, I want to look like that.
Yeah.
I love that the backlight is spilling over and kind of flaring into her skin. It's like the light. It feels like she's in an environment where a lot of times it's very easy just to feel like this person's up against a pure, colored seamless. This feels like she's in some dewy environment, which kind of goes along with that whole feel. The light, I think, is very close because you're getting those nice shadows on her cheek and under her chin, and you have some really dynamic light fall off. It really brightens her eyes. I mean, everything about this image, I think, really plays to the beauty look. And so I'm glad to finally see an image that, to me, reminds me of what beauty photography looks like. And we've been talking about Julia's work a lot. You can check out her work in the description below. This fits kind of that model. Like, she has some funky stuff with gelled lights, and it's unbelievable work. But this, to me, falls closer into something she might use for her portfolio, and she's the most successful photographer in this genre that I know, and that's why I kind of push my critique towards her work, because I know she's actually making money, and you go to her website and you're totally blown away.
Yeah.
So, very, very good. I'm curious to see what the community rates this. Honestly, to me, this should have probably been the #1 highly rated image, but. And the community says 3.2 stars, so I think our community...
Still up there. The upper end of our community ratings always get pushed down lower than the more traditional website community ratings. I think it's just too much competitiveness.
How do you say her name? Cinia?
Cinia, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so Cinia Kyle, congrats. I love this photograph. And number 19, we got 2 more.
I'm ready. 2. I think we agree. I feel like this image is far too busy to really focus on, to really be a beauty photograph. I feel like maybe this works as a special event shot or something, but I don't know what it would be selling in the beauty realm.
Yeah, I think it's just too busy, and it's too... We just talked about the previous girl having this ambiguity with her ethnicity, and I feel like this, I mean, you know, this appeals to a very specific person because of all the cultural elements.
Yeah.
I feel like the main light's a little warm still. I'd like to see the slider just pulled down, the exposure slider just pulled down a little bit to just give this all a little darker mood. Still, it's an interesting photograph, and I think it falls kind of in this portrait realm. I just think for beauty photography, I don't really think it's all about the product and the face and everything we've talked about so far.
Community says it's a 3.06. They liked it a lot more than we did.
Yeah, I wonder what people think this portfolio would be. You know, is it beauty or is it some kind of portrait portfolio? Yeah. And the final image of the day, and the first one to feature 2 people.
It's true.
Ready?
Let me look a little closer. Two.
You agreed with me.
We agreed.
Wow, I thought you were going to throw a 4.
No. The 2 models and their pose are okay. I don't love their expressions. The biggest thing that's throwing me off is their eyes. It seems like their faces are sharp, but their eyes are so soft. Like, I don't know if it's a retouching thing, a de-sharpening thing. Like, it seems like their eyes are out of focus, but the rest of their faces are fairly well in focus. I don't know what they did.
I didn't even notice that, but now that you say it.
It's like, and the whites of their eyes are completely white.
Yeah, like I know, I've heard Peter Hurley.
I know you want to take that out a little bit. You tone down the veins.
Peter Hurley talks about this a lot, where people retouch the whites of their eyes, and since your eyes are round, they should have a round shadow on them. But because the beauty dish, you can see this is a beauty dish, is so far away, it's become like a pin light. It's like a really hard, harsh light, which typically doesn't look great, but I feel like the lighting in this photo is actually fairly nice. Like, I don't mind it. I feel like it might benefit from a little more shadow.
It's a little
flat.
Flat and strong, I feel like.
I love the look of the girl on the left. Like, her lips and, I mean, the eyelashes, again, it's one of those things that to me, it's like a little over the top. But the girl on the left, I think, looks great. And the girl on the right, you can tell, is a very beautiful model too. So I feel like you're working with great talent. I just think, like, if you gave this image to a retoucher and they could just add a little more contouring, you know, just burn in a little bit of the skin tones to kind of add to the texture that you've removed by pulling the light so far away, maybe this could be a little bit more interesting. I feel like the girl on the right, though, I don't know if it's just the position of her head, but she's got this like deer in the headlights, awkward feeling, you know?
Yeah. I love how kempt the hair is for the most part, but it feels like, too, retouching wise, it's just a little too cut out on the back, the end of the hair. Like, it feels like they've just chopped off any sort of flyaways rather than giving subtle little
You're talking about the edge
waves.
of the hair.
Edge of the hair, yes. Edge of the hair. Between
I
them and
kind
the
of
background.
like the hair. I feel like the highlight on both of their heads is so perfect that it looks like a little too much attention has gone towards the hair. And I don't know, like it's also a very blue tonality compared to this really warm. Like I almost think this image could be a little, just slightly too warm, but that's kind of the mood they're going for. They have all of these
I could agree with
browns,
that.
these earth tones, but when the hair also has the blue in it, like I kind of like the hair back here on the left model, where she's got this warmth to it, and then the top of their head is super blue. I just feel like you either want to go all the way and have this split toning where like you're really manipulating the tones like that, or you want to bring them both into a realm that's more similar. I'd like to see what this looks like if you just warmed up the highlights in their hair to make the whole image feel a little more warm. But gosh, I could only imagine. Like I have never shot beauty with two people. I could only imagine how difficult.
I'm sure
that
this
would be.
is. I would completely fail it.
And I wonder how much of it's actually shot in camera. I bet you a lot of it's probably working with two different models and then like placing
Think this
them.
is composite? I don't think.
No, I don't think this is, but I think if you looked at the highest end, especially when you have celebrities, like in many cases, I don't think you get both celebrities
At the same
in
time.
the same room. You shoot them in a way that you can composite them in retouching and make it look like they're there. But and also like her jaw is like covering over the eyes. I wish I could give a more solid critique on what I think you could do to make this better, but you obviously have a great team, beautiful models, your lighting. It's different. Pulling the light that far away is definitely not a standard beauty technique, but I think it works in some ways. There's that little extra something that it needs to belong in your portfolio. There's also a Fstoppers writer, Siobhan Wong, who has unbelievable
Yeah, she's good.
beauty stuff. Like I think it's beauty. I would consider it beauty, but it's also kind of portraiture. But it's got the dewy, the skin tones and everything. And she writes incredible articles, just like Julia did back when she wrote for Fstoppers, that outline all the lighting setups and sometimes shows you the before and afters. So we'll put a link of that as well in the description. A lot of links here, but check out Siobhan's stuff because it's incredible too if you want to see what I think the standard should be for beauty photography. So that wraps up this critique. Head to the link below so you guys can submit your landscape photos, and we're gonna have Alaya come out of the studio and sit in this couch, critique some landscape photos with another special guest. And make sure you head over to fstoppers.com/store where you can see all the tutorials that you can win. And make sure you check out fstoppers.com for daily photography content like this every single day.
Daily, every day.
Every day, all the time. Let's get out of here.
Great.